Well, we're going to call this meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Well, thank you for all of you for coming this evening. We are going to begin by approving the agenda. Council, do you have anything you'd like to add or pull out of the consent agenda?
We don't have
I think we're doing that down next.
No?
So I think
I
next
have the
you should
approval
do
of agenda. Okay.
Approve agenda.
Yeah. Okay, that's not on my, I don't have the most recent copy, I guess.
Yeah, you do. Okay, we just did pledge, then approve agenda. Okay. So, all right, so I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second.
I move to approve with pulling out,
But there's no, the
Oh, I
consent
see.
agenda
It's different.
is at the bottom, so
So we
that's
don't-
gonna be after the speakers.
okay, that's fine.
Unless, I mean, if you wanna move it up, you can.
All right, that's fine. All in favor of approving the agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Agenda passes, motion passes. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to the council? We're going to open the public forum. Not seeing anyone, we'll close the public forum.
I think we do have one. Jasper.
Oh, Jasper. Sorry, Jasper. Would you like to come up and speak to us?
Testing, testing, testing. Yeah, this thing's on.
Perfect.
So I'm here today. Wait, yeah, I have to do my address first. Jasper Hankins, 183 Wildwood Avenue. So I'm here today to talk about the Montemita Ice Soccer Association and soccer field rent-out. And I'm hoping that the field can be rented out. Otherwise, we'll have to go all the way to Hugo, and then we won't be able to even play near our fields we have right now down by Aaron's playground, which are really local. But if we can get the Birchwood field, we'd be even more local. So we have around 20% of players on Montemita Soccer Association that actually live in Birchwood. So with that, and that would make things a lot local, because kids like me who live in Birchwood and are on Montemita Soccer Association, that would make things a lot easier and a lot more accessible than Hugo. And if Montemita Soccer Association could just rent that out, this actually could be a great opportunity. Plus, Birchwood Village is also making money off that rent. And that allows, and if Birchwood is making money, that allows the Birchwood's budget to raise. So that allows us, Birchwood Village, to be a lot higher or on money than we are right now.
Okay, thank you, Jasper. You made some really good points, and I appreciate you coming to speak tonight. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, we do have one announcement, and I'll just read it off our agenda. The City of Birchwood wishes to announce the resignation of our city administrator, Rebecca Kellen, effective January 28th, 2025. And we're on to city business. Well, Dr. Cedarberg is here from the Met Council. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me, and I think the man behind the curtain is working on getting our presentation up. It was sent to Rebecca and it didn't get put up, so
Sorry about that.
That's all right, that's all right. So as he puts it up, I do have a paper copy, but I think this should work. So my name is Gail Cedarberg. There we go. And I am the Met Council representative for District 11, and there'll be a map showing up. But really, we have a team, and Emma Dvorak is the city planner assigned to District 11, and we work in concert, where she has, contacted, I think, some of your staff in the previous time, and she'll be contacting you again about going forward with our 2050 plan. And then Elias Montesa is my communications person, and that person will change in the next month or so, but it's really to make connections and all of those things. Do I have to say next slide, or is there a flipper thing?
Just say next slide.
Next slide, next slide. Thank you. Just really wanted to do introductions, so there's a person behind the email or the face. Learn more about Birchwood. If you have concerns, how can we work together, what you need me to do. A little bit more about the 2050 development guide that we've been working on, project updates, and if there's any questions. So next slide. So fast facts, maybe all of you know what the Met Council is. 7-county region, 182 cities and districts, 16 Met Council districts, so there's a person who is appointed for each of the 16 districts, and then we have a chair. So District 11 is that green northeast quadrant up there. So in our district, why don't we go to the next slide and we'll show a little bit more. There's District 11. So we've got Columbus, Lino Lakes, Wyoming, in Anoka County, White Bear Lake, White Bear Township. But most of the other communities are in Washington County. So going up to Scandia, Forest Lake, down to Afton. I have a little slice of Woodbury and all the other communities there. So a little bit more about myself, and people go, are you crazy serving on the Met Council? I retired in April 2021 from a 40-year career in environmental engineering, hydrogeology, groundwater modeling, and cleaning up Superfund sites. And around came 2022, and someone said, this district is open, why don't you throw your hat in the ring? There's all these problems here. And I live in Montemita by the old Lakeside Club, so I've lived here 30 years, and I've seen the progressions of the issues with White Bear Lake, the litigation, and all of those things, plus all the PFAS contamination. And it really is my bailiwick from a technical expertise. I've been a Humphrey Fellow, part of their program, taken a lot of policy classes. So on the Met Council, starting March 3rd, I will be chairing the Environment Committee, and I'm on the Environment Committee and the Management Committee. So it's really the Environment Committee, wastewater treatment, plus wastewater supply planning. We're not a utility, but the planning part of it, grants for conservation and things like that. I do represent the council on the Clean Water Council. That is a statewide organization that takes Heritage Fund money for projects. And the metro area also receives money from the Clean Water Fund through watershed districts and a lot of other programs. And then I also attend as many of these other meetings as I can, especially the White Bear Lake Area Comprehensive Plan Work Group. There was a meeting last week, and there'll be one in March. MALSAC is the Council Water Supply Advisory Committee. I tend to participate in as many Washington County programs that I can. DNR has a north and east metro groundwater area, and then the watershed districts. And so, I've had this long history. I grew up in Highland Park in St. Paul, went to public high school, but I really had the best of both worlds because I spent all my summers up north in Crow Wing County. You take your shoes off on Memorial Day and you put them back on Labor Day, and on the way home, you stop at Penny's to buy a new pair of shoes. I mean, how better can you be raised, right? And when somebody asked me to put my hat in the ring, I really thought a lot about it. And really it aligns with the state goals and the Met Council goals of really having everybody, no matter who you are, pink, purple, polka dot, red, blue, no matter what size you are, no matter how old you are, to really be able to grow up in a really healthy, safe environment, to be able to drink the water, fish in the lakes, recreate, and have it, inclusionary where everybody can participate. And so that really, my parents kind of made me grow up that way, and I just love being on the water, so it really does help. Next slide, please. So a little bit of history, we can speed through this pretty quickly. In 1957, it was started, and it really started over wastewater, believe it or not, that as they were growing in 1967, I should say, everybody was growing, everybody was thinking of putting in their own wastewater treatment plants in St. Paul, Minneapolis, Hennepin, Ramsey County. And did that make sense? Well, not really, because the Clean Water Act came about in the 60s and 70s. And so why not build bigger plants that could handle more water and do it once, et cetera? And so after that, it was, well, then we could do regional planning and we could do land use planning as well. So next slide, please. So as part of this planning, next week, it's tomorrow, believe it or not, the Imagine 2050 plan is coming up in front of the whole council for adoption. And if we go to the next slide, this really talks about our vision, and I think people can resonate with this. A prosperous, equitable, resilient region with abundant opportunities for all to live, work, play, and thrive. And core values were equitable, inclusive, welcoming, healthy, safe, and vibrant. We lead on addressing climate change. We protect and restore natural systems. And what this means when you read the plan, there's a wide variety of people who don't like maybe one or two words in those things. But what does it mean when we lead on addressing climate change? It means things like we're having more extreme water storm events. We're going to need more land for stormwater. We're going to have to think about reusing stormwater. So that's kind of under that umbrella of climate change. When we talk about equitable, inclusive, and welcoming, Washington County is really at the forefront of, rebuilding playgrounds that are inclusive for less able-bodied children. Lake Elmo has a track kind of wheelchair to get off-road, so I can go with my friend whose husband has Parkinson's and is a retired naturalist, and we can get into the park. So there's lots of ways of looking at these words that, again, I think we all can kind of agree on. Next slide. So this should have been up front, but land use planning, community development, housing and parks, environmental services and water supply, and transportation planning. And I do have a few transportation slides, believe it or not, even for this neck of the woods. Next slide, please. So, City of Birchwood Village classified as suburban. For the 2040 plan, it was also classified as suburban. The minimum density, and I looked at your land use plan, and I think it's on the next slide. There's not a whole lot of build out left to go in Birchwood. It's not really going to make an issue. There's no changes to the MUSA Metropolitan Urban Service Area for wastewater, but I just wanted to put that up there. Next slide, please. So here's your 2040 land use plan, and it's pretty developed. It's pretty set with your parks and I think in May, my girlfriend is playing at Birchwood, at the little Birchwood Park. Her band is coming, Sweet Rhubarb, so I always try to come and visit her. So next slide, please. And then I think, with the parks close to home, why don't we go to the next slide? Shows the map, and yep, Big Marine Park is up there, and with the new Kelly Farm that was added, the Met Council helped fund the 240 acres, and now we've got the new wildlife management area that's being attached to that park. So the Met Council does a lot of partnering with Washington County to listen, learn, and try to get funds for the regional parks as well. And the real goal, it's coming together, is to try to connect these parks with greenways and bikes. and other transit. So little by little, we need a mile here, and that's up by Hugo. They need an extra mile added. So, okay, let's get them that mile, so that the Hartwood Trail, so they can be safer going across the railroad tracks. So there's a lot of give and take for the regional parks and helping develop them across the whole metro area, but also in Washington County. Next slide, please. So water resource management, it's wastewater service, and it's integrated planning for water quality and water supply. And there's funding and grants for water efficiency and municipal and private property inflow and infiltration grants that Birchwood could be applying for. You're in the White Bear Lake Comprehensive Plan, and I didn't check whether you have municipal wells, I think, and so your municipal well is probably in that area where you might need to go on surface water when they go through that project. And so the Met Council is convening that work group. We're not prescribing. It's a very engaged group from all the communities in that 5-mile radius around White Bear Lake that they say have impacted the levels of White Bear Lake. So I think, like I said, you can go on the website if you just go White Bear Lake Area Comprehensive Plan Work Group, and you can find the next meeting. And everybody's welcome to attend. I had a couple people from White Bear Township attend, just regular people. You don't have to be an elected official. There's chairs for an audience, and that would be great. And then by Birchwood, there's a couple projects for lift stations and monitoring that are in that little sub-picture there that are going on. So not huge capital improvement, but they're going through and looking at all the lift stations, making improvements to the monitoring. And part of the projects they do is they, are always vigilant about how well they're doing on their systems. Next slide, please. So planning, there's 2 parts of transit: planning for transit, where it should go, what type it should be, and then transit operations. So that's kind of it. If we go to the next slide, they serve all the areas, including Washington County a little bit. But what I'd like to say is that, Metro Mobility services this area, Transit Link, and microtransit. So Metro Mobility, I know that there've been some issues with availability from like 3 to 5 o'clock and because of ridership, but I think that should be alleviated, and I think Birchwood is pretty close to where there's not an issue. Transit Link is a dial-a-ride, but then microtransit is kind of an Uber ride-sharing van. And if we go to the next map, we'll see that what this shows is the green dots. So Birchwood's very close to the green dot by White Bear Lake. So that's in the planning phase. But what the microtransit, the green dot on the upper left is Roseville, and the green dot on the lower part is Woodbury. January 5th, they started 2 ride-sharing programs in those 2 communities. And it's really to get them to the Gold Line, get them to the Rosedale hub. And if they're really working, then, the White Bear Lake, Maplewood Mall is in the works. And it's pretty, and that green dot outline isn't the green dot outline. That's just a placeholder. Depends on people. Bus lines, there's an express bus from Stillwater to Maplewood Mall. From Maplewood Mall to Rosedale, they started the express bus up again. And the bus from Maplewood Mall goes down to Minneapolis and down to St. Paul. And they did restart the bus on a more frequent basis from Maplewood Mall to Century College. I think it's going every 15 minutes now, and in the pandemic, they stopped it and went every hour. Students were having a pretty hard time. So there's not a lot of public transit, but I'm heavily engaged with Washington County on making sure that we're not forgotten as we think about transit in this area. Next slide, please. So upcoming activities tomorrow, adopting the 2050 Regional Development Guide. And if you go to Met Council website, metcouncil.org, and you click on committees, you can live stream all our committees and meetings, and all our committee meetings are archived. So, so that's, very interesting, because I have to go back sometimes and, what are they doing in transportation? I'm not on that committee, but sometimes I have to. Again, the Metro Transit pilot programs, open the bus routes. There's a lot that we're doing that doesn't have a direct impact on Birchwood. However, I just wanted to come and say that, I work very closely with Washington County, and I want to be that person that if, somebody says, what is the Met Council doing, or maybe the Met Council can help us or something, copy me, copy Emma Dvorak. She's an amazing planner. She will come out and meet with you, give you guidance. I know a lot of communities are, one thing that she really suggests is that if you're thinking of making a change and you don't know if it's going to meet the comprehensive plan, don't spend time on a consultant, give Emma a call. She can head off a lot of things and go, well, this might be a better way to do it and get you to where you're going to go. And then as we talk about the 2050 plan, she's actually writing a handbook to make it very easy for going from your 2040 plan to your 2050 plan if you don't have a lot of changes. So before you head down that path, she is going to be on vacation for a couple weeks in March, and then she's going to come and reach out to all the communities. And there are going to be some Zoom calls, so somehow the email might be sent to your city administrator who's no longer here, but to try to introduce you to the 2050 planning process. And if you don't get that, then I can make sure that you can get that, and if you give me the person's name, we can, switch out Rebecca's name for somebody else's name on that. Next slide and the very last slide. So really, it's what can we and I do for you? I'm here building relationships. I've been to all my communities at least once. Questions, comments, recommendations. So that's kind of who I am, what the Met Council is, what we kind of do, and really just invite you to reach out more often. And I know I'm hearing a lot from the communities in District 11. They're a lot alike. They're small, they're rural, they're built out. But oh my God, it's going to cost so much money to make changes. But Emma's goal is to streamline that for you. And for some of the smaller communities, there's actually funds to help pay to do your comp plan. And so she has that information as well. And if she doesn't get it, then I can get it for you.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so that was kind of a long,
Oh,
but the.
very informative.
But you have the slides, and they were meant to be in your packet, so
Thank you so much.
if there's any questions. All right. No
Thank you.
questions?
Any
All righty.
questions, anybody? No? Okay, thank you so
All
much.
right, thank you.
Commissioner Karwoski, welcome. Are you going to be a regular?
I'm at your beck and call. Birchwood doesn't require a lot of services. You don't have county roads and such. But you'll never be forgotten. Birchwood Village is a lovely town. Stan Karwoski, Washington County Commissioner, District 2. Birchwood is one of 8 cities I represent. I did want, before I start my slide presentation, and if you could load it, tee it up, gentleman behind, yeah, just, I'll have you, I'll tell you to turn the pages as we go, but before I start, I want to compliment Dr. Gail Cedarberg. She is an amazing asset to the Met Council and to Birchwood and Washington County. She's going to so much stuff, and we truly are partners. And I think there's several things in my 9 slides that really tie into what we do with Met Council. So I just, thanks for having me tonight. I apologize, I'm fighting a cold, but I get one of those once a winter, and they last about 10 days. I don't know what it is. Next slide, please. This are the county services One, I hope this is informative for you as a county, as a city council, but also your residents. We consider the county a kind of an invisible layer of government. We do a lot of services that kind of go unnoticed, but that's kind of a good thing. Things operate smoothly, and yet a lot gets done. I just wanted to point out each symbol, maybe starting on the upper left and going clockwise. The first one is community services. That's kind of like people in need, all sorts of the social service programs, really people in need, a variety of services, from seniors to youth. And then the next, moving to the right, clockwise, the next one is public health and the environment. That is kind of waste and energy. That's a big component of it. And all our environmental practices, groundwater management plans and such. Public works and parks, that is basically the streets, the major streets, and of course their bigger regional parks. And then the libraries, the county runs the library system. The closest library here is, I think we have 5 libraries. It's Wildwood Library. Then if we keep moving clockwise, the bottom right corner, property records and taxpayer services. That's not only getting your property tax statements, but evaluating the properties. It also runs the elections. Then community corrections. Mostly ring the 7 major counties. Not all have a jail, but most do. So when people are incarcerated, it's usually low, not the big, typically the violent crimes, of people that need to get back on their feet and back into society. So we run the jails. And then the county attorney is basically handling crime and legal issues for the county, for the citizens. And then the sheriff's office, as you know, they are on contract for many of our cities, including Birchwood, for police and public safety. Next slide, please. I tried to pick out some items that I think are just interesting, a broad swath of what the county does. So this is the Century, for a road aspect, I'm gonna picked out Century Avenue. We have East County line right outside the borders of Birchwood. But if you go past County 12, from County 12 down to 694, we're working with MnDOT. It's a turnback that'll happen this year. It doesn't really meet, it's also Century Avenue, it's called 120. It doesn't really meet the identity of a state highway. It's more of a county road. So for us to take it back, they'll give us money. There's been already 2 public, we're entering the final design phase for 2025, 2024. I think we had at least two meetings. I seen the mayor at one, and that was to get community feedback as to wants and needs of that road, because your citizens are gonna be driving it readily. I also serve on, this is TAB, Transportation Advisory Board, which is a Met Council function, and I serve on that. And we've got $8 million down near FedEx to work on a really difficult intersection to keep FedEx happy, and keep for that they can grow and work with the community, and you can actually funnel traffic through there. We're working with Century College. Construction is targeted for 2027. Next slide, please. This is the North Environmental Center. This is for your hazardous waste items that can't go into the garbage, electrical components, volatile paints and things like that, chemicals. I just want to point out in the cream-colored box, there's some interesting facts. Now, as many residents of Birchwood would have to go to our South Environmental Center to drop off your hazardous items. Now we've got one on I think it's more towards the south end of Forest Lake. so it's a much more convenient drive. We are, going back to the cream box, we're anticipating 40,000 customers. We're anticipating $500,000 in free products. When people, the beauty of this is you have residents, rather than put the used paint, used adhesive, oils that you may have, you don't have any purpose for, we'll actually, rather than properly dispose of those, we'll have a free, it's like a store. And you can go in there and get all sorts of things, cleaning projects, products and such. That in value is $500,000. And then on the electronics, there's gonna be targeted 600,000 pounds of TVs and old phones or whatever. There's different items in those components that are really bad for the landfill. And then under the, I'm having a hard time here, in the hazardous waste is 750,000 pounds of predicted. In this, the location is just off of 961. It's right across from the county service center, and there's a library up there. Next slide, please. It also handles tree waste. That's going to be a big from people's yards. I noticed the food scrap on your table back here. We're promoting this. The food scrap program is now going into organics. Roughly 50% of our current trash does not go into the landfill. State law by 2030, 75% of our throwaways in our homes has to be recycled or converted to energy. So the way we're going to get there is to organics. And with this program, if you look at the bottom phone number there, we encourage people to sign up. In 2024, Birchwood started getting the food scrap pickup program. But I would be willing to guess, I didn't check on the stats, but you're probably only at about 10% of your residents using it. But it's kind of like going back 20, 30 years ago when you had the recycling bin that got up to 100%, but it took 5, 10 years, probably even more. We're hoping that if you can promote it like what you're doing now, we can get up to the 80, 90%. You know, it'd be nice to get 100% people that just can separate their bones, banana peels, those kind of things, in its separate special bag. When that goes down to the Newport Recycling Center, it is, rather than put it in the trash, automation singles out that bag, pulls it aside, and gets that. And then we're gonna take those peelings, those bones, those basically grocery store waste items. We're gonna convert that into biofuels and possibly fertilizers as technology develops. The one we're pursuing right now is a biofuel. Next slide, please. I apologize for my voice there. Central Service Center. We have 3 service centers. One's up in Forest Lake, one's in Cottage Grove. Your residents could continue to go to the Forest Lake one, or this one would be right off of 494 and Valley Creek Road in Woodbury. It's gonna be on the Gold Line, which is the bus rapid transit. So it's gonna be a modern building to provide typical, licensing, marriage certificates, passports. We're expanding that into some of the social service programs. And the building's gonna be flexible, for that we can move. Voting will be done there that we can reconfigure different rooms for the needs within that week or within that season. It's going to be open in this coming fall, and it's a major tenet of our county in there is workforce development. So people in need of a better job, and if they're down on their luck and they don't have a job, they can get to this service center with bus transportation. These service centers are geared, you might have residents here that go over to Ramsey County for your licensing or some of their resources. So we really are compatible across county lines. So visualize someone maybe from Maplewood going over to the service center. They don't have a car, they can take for $1 or $2, $1 to $3 is going to be the cost of the GO line, and they can get there and work on their profession and give themselves a better job. So many different benefits to the new service center, but we're really excited about that. It's also a very environmentally built building, from wood beams to solar energy to also there's going to be what was the other feature in there? For cars, electric charging stations. Next slide, please. Dr. Cedarberg touched on this one with the Met Council. She mentioned this slide is a big marine park. This is our Land and Water Legacy Program. Through that, combining with almost 20 years ago, $20 million was appropriated for purchasing largely in a rating system, either land that would expand a park, a regional park, or land that would protect water. As we know, since then, we've learned that I think we can't take clean water or the future water for granted. So to date, we've acquired throughout the county 1,300 acres of strategic, either protecting streams, protecting water sources. Dr. Cedarberg touched on this one, but this parcel is almost 700 acres of really good water. It's kind of circled. That expanded Big Marine Park. So citizens going up there will be able to, you can still have trails and open to the public, so there's going to be some public use. But it added 700 acres. Now the park is almost doubled in size. It's 1,500 acres. It's actually part of the original master plan. We couldn't have done that without the Met Council. I think, I don't have the exact figure, but that's a lot of money. It was purchased from the Kelly Farm, and it might have been a total of $6 million, 3 phases. There's a total of, I think, about 1,500 acres, if not more, 2,300 acres, that's going to be protected. But the county's involvement is for these 700 acres, and I think it was a 50% was paid for by the Met Council and their money appropriated to parks. Next slide, please. I wanted to pick out last slide was more the land and water legacy and protecting water sources. This one is to emphasize park. I picked out Lake Elmo Park. It's probably the park that's most used by your citizens. We have several regional parks. Dr. Cedarberg actually mentioned this one, and it's actually geared up in my slide, is that, again, Met Council, either property taxes or Met Council with their regional park money, and we get grants, we're able to expand, improve the swim pond, but also this spring is this new tot lot going up. I moved into Oakdale in '87, and I think, I'm not sure the first tot lot was there, but it was outdated. working with the Met Council grants to really minimize the cost of the citizens of Washington County. We now have a more of a state-of-the-art tot lot, which goes with the swim pond, which that swim pond is chlorinated water. It's basically like a beach in its own little lake. It's like a swimming pool. But the key thing here is we're really dedicated to making our park more accessible to different cultures, different physical limitations, old and young. So this tot lot, as Dr. Cedarberg alluded to, someone with a wheelchair can utilize it. Maybe they're watching their child. Maybe it's a youth that can still use the equipment. The old tot lots would have sand or wood chips. This is going to have a very comfortable floor that can wheelchair accessible. Someone with a cane, someone with other limitations. Next slide, please. And I guess that concludes it. Try to speak. There's many other things we could cover. It had been a while since I gave an update to the Birchwood Council. Wanted to just kind of give the citizens a reminder of what's out there, and certainly could take on some questions if you got.
Thank you for coming in, Stan. Always nice to hear from you. One question I have and one comment is Birchwood often feels like a little bit of an outlier in Washington County in that we belong to like the White Bear School District. We're kind of rammed up against Ramsey County. And it also feels like a little like, and geography is kind of fixed, but like to go to even Woodbury versus, Forest Lake, Cosgrove, those things are all a long way away for residents here. One thing is the county offers a lot of nice little kind of services and things. One of the things I think about is I think we have some of those those composting bags here. There's like radon tests I think you can get for free. It's cheaper for me to buy a radon test online than it is to go and get one from the county. Is there any way that one of the things we do have here is the Wildwood Library, which is, fairly close to us. Is there any way we can think a little bit about how we might provide some services here at the Village Hall or at the Wildwood Library to people?
Yeah, we're getting more, COVID actually taught us all a little more how to do things remotely or online or, well, one, when I talk to your residents, and that's why I'm here, I definitely don't want Birchwood to be forgotten.
You don't want Ramsey County to come and to start tugging us away or something.
It's funny though, it's kind of that balance, because when I talk to residents of your community, you've got those larger lots. It's kind of an advantage not to have the major roads, so you definitely like your kind of independence and you're unique, but yet at the same token, Councilman Hakens, I understand that, yeah, you still want those kind of attributes, but you still want the services. We just, as an example, try to name a few things. One, in recent years now, you don't have to necessarily go down to the Central Service Center or the Service Center up in Forest Lake. Those are expensive buildings, and the staff, really 3 is kind of the sweet spot. We have one in our county is 44 miles long, I believe, by about 10 miles wide. So it makes it rather than square, it makes it a little bit more challenging to be efficient with services. But we don't want, many of those services now you can do online. We also, regarding social services, we could coordinate, our staff could look into it. We just got through a grant, a community service vehicle where we can bring some of our services, even it could be an informational, they could, maybe you could, I would suggest, if Mayor, if you wanted to reach out to our community services, kind of find out, they would know something about the dynamic of your residential makeup. And maybe there would be a good fit to bring that service van out here and have residents come and see, especially it's geared senior, there might be some mental health help there, and they could kind of see what services are available. And that's, will come to the cities, and that was designed for groups. I don't know what else,
I mean, maybe it's just we need to coordinate, get some of the pamphlets and
yeah.
stuff from the county and stick it on our wall here. I mean,
Yeah, I
maybe
think
that's
if
all we
keep
need. And
talking,
I-
I'm always open for it.
I'm just kind of putting the thought in your mind that like
Yeah,
you know, if there's some little things we can do. So, and if
Yeah.
not, that's okay. I'm just thinking about it, so.
but yeah, let's continuously look where there's opportunities. Any other questions?
A quick question for you and Dr. Cedarberg. Are there cities that are doing just a great job in communicating to their residents about your services? Are there best practices that you've seen that you could share with us?
Well, for us, communicating our services, you know, we have a good staff that really reaches out through our cities, through the individual residents to make sure they have mental health services. We provide pretty much state and federal programs. Many of our programs are mandated, from seniors to youth, as far as from children that are abused, neglected. We just committed ourselves to a emergency shelter. We just, a permanent facility. We would partner with Ramsey County, Dakota County, where we would reserve beds. But we really, believe it or not, even though Washington County is a very affluent county, we still have homelessness. And this would be an emergency shelter for those that could possibly die in the winter month. These next few days are going to be abnormally cold. We immediately react to make sure if our police, where we're looking for people that, believe it or not, there are people that could pass away in these cold times. Homelessness, and part of that is the mental health. It's a problem for every county. One of our resources is I would encourage to do that communication, reaching out to residents, is our Staying in Touch newsletter. I think it'll come out at the end of the month. It comes out 4 times a year. It's got all our services listed in that. We get a lot of feedback on what's available through that newsletter, Staying in Touch.
Well, I think with the Met Council, a lot of our grants come to the city, and then I know like Montemita on their, toilet swap or water conservation programs, they will just pass it through. I mean, it's a pass-through. They don't say this has been funded by the Met Council. So it doesn't show up, a lot of times the parks doesn't say this has been funded by the Met Council until we get a presentation like this. So a lot of it is what you show in your newsletter to your community. Like, I really like Montemita as I read it. It's online, but I get a paper copy. I love getting the paper copy from Washington County. I read it all. I've been to the North Waste Center there. It is lovely, and it's pretty quick to get up there on 61 because you're on the lake. So a lot of it is, there is, okay, so yes, so actually I asked Emma about that. There is a monthly blast from the Met Council that goes, I think, to your city administrator. Okay, and that says what the programs are, what the dates are, and things like that. And then Emma usually has her own planning blast that goes out once a month, and that usually goes to your city administrator. So what we're finding in all my community talks that I've been to, sometimes the disconnect is getting it to the city administrator and then it not getting pushed up to the council or the mayor or the different commissions.
Can you talk in the mic?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that.
Or sometimes it'll get to the city administrator, but it won't get pushed up to the work groups that you have into the council. So I was someplace the other day, and it was like, the mayor said, how did I not know this 2050 plan was being adopted? But we had comments from the community from two different people, and our planner had been out to visit. So I think it's internally getting that communication up. And if you would like somebody else to be CC'd on those things, then let me know. But usually we deal with the staff, the planning staff, or your city administrator for smaller communities. And then that should get kind of pushed up to the council and to the elected officials.
Thanks, that's helpful.
I had a couple other things, how we're trying to communicate better, because we definitely want anybody that needs a service to be well aware of it. If you've, within your city website, the one thing I'm always encouraging is when you make changes to your website is create links to our county. There's so many things we would provide that your city, being small with a very small government body, can't do. And I think if you just, well, you don't have the financial wherewithal, it just doesn't make sense. And that's where the county can play a role. But I think we could do more links. I'm always encouraging cities in their website to have these links going out to the appropriate county section of the county website. We're also invested in, we're redoing our county website. And that's meaning we're really trying to make it much more user-friendly for a citizen can quickly get to the information or the service they're looking for. Councilmember Spurl, did I kind of answer your question?
You did, thank you very much.
Yeah, anything else?
Do you have the contact information for that cold shelter for the next couple of days, just in case someone needs it?
Good question. It's not. You know, I think if, call 911, the sheriff, if somebody's in need,
Okay.
I can't speak for the sheriff, but I don't think it's like, I think we do more than just like, you have to find your way to, what we do is we rent some of the hotels, largely in Stillwater. We contract rooms, warm, they're comfortable. They can stay there a few days. We have some limitations because we want to get these people back on their feet. But usually they're in dire need, so 911. And I know the county would provide a mechanism for getting them there. Anything else?
That is true. I can attest to that. We just lost a residence home, and so the sheriff's department's very familiar with that facility that just came online. And so because that individual didn't have a place to live anymore, that's where they, so it is active, and the sheriff's know to do that, so that's the best way to get the connection.
And our 30-bed facility that'll, I think it'll be open sometime next summer. It's under construction now, but it's on the government campus there in Stillwater. Believe it or not, it's everybody recognizes a homeless problem. This is more for that really emergency case where somebody could possibly die due to the weather, their health condition. But even though we have a generous cities and generous community, it's really hard to get cities to say, yes, I would like to help out homeless in my community. So everybody, it's kind of like not my backyard. So that's a challenge in itself. So that's why we put it on the campus. But it was in a location that used to have a home, so it's a good fit. Any other questions?
Thank you so much.
Well, yeah,
Commissioner.
stay in touch, and I'm always a phone call away. And
Yes, thank you very much for joining us this evening. We appreciate it. We also have next on our agenda an update by our White Bear Conservation District representative.
Hello, I am Sherry Hankins. I am one of your Birchwood representatives on the White Bear Conservation District. And so we have been tasked to reach out to all of you to let you know what has happened in the past year and some of the things that are going to be happening going forward. So some of the things that your tax dollars are going to in funding this conservation district is that we are reimbursing different cities around the lake for itch treatment. So if we in Birchwood were to do some sort of treatment in one of our lakes or one of our beaches, we could apply for reimbursement for that. We have been working with an annual cleanup day, which is always held the second Saturday in March. So if you are free and around, you are welcome to come and join us as we go out onto the lake and clean up after all of those ice fishermen. And I do tend to notice as walking along the lake that we do have a bit of trash and debris even along our own lake shores. So I say if you see something, pick it up. That will kind of help us continue to keep the lakes a little bit cleaner. We have started researching and development of an action plan for the prevention and early detection of something called starry stormwort. This has been found in 3 lakes that are upper northern Minnesota and are starting to creep down this way. And what it is like a big bush that is in the lake. And once you get in it, once again, it's like Eurasian milfoil, it is hard to eradicate. So the key is early prevention. So this past summer around because it pretty much comes in from boats that are coming out, so we are starting to do detailed checks around where the boat landings to ensure that we can catch it before it gets in here. We have contracted with Blue Water Science for assessment of the Eurasian milfoil, and we treated 33.43 acres of milfoil in the lake this year. So, and that's done by we take a long boat ride around the lake where you identify all the hot spots, and then once you identify those hot spots, then in August you go back through and you start the treatment, and that will kind of help bring it down. And so far, doing that has been successful to kind of decrease that a bit. We also did a 2024 lake study usage, which is telling us like how many boats we have out there, how many people visit it. So we should have those results in the next month or 2, and I'll come back and let you guys know how many people are using the lake and what they're using it for. We have contracted with Ramsey County Sheriff with extra enforcement where they're actually not just working on the lake, but they're also going and checking, doing boat checks, making sure that the buoys, everyone has all their stuff, that they are cleaning their boats and things like that. So that way we can continue to make sure we are checking that. This past year we increased the commercial marina slip fees. Doesn't affect us because we're not exactly commercial, but it went from 75 to 125 just because costs are continuing to go up for us for our enforcement and stuff like that. So that is where we're at. So going forward, we're going to continue to do the checks for starry stormwort. We're going to continue to check for the Eurasian milfoil. We are also putting in articles in the Laker, which comes out 4 times a year. And the Laker is a press publication, which comes out in May, the summer, then we have a fall one, and then we have a winter one. And so we put in a bunch of articles that talk about ways to enjoy the lake safely and what we can do to prevent any erosion, and something that you guys can do as you are going through and getting variances and things for what people want to do on their lakeshore is make sure we're following the laws and that people are, encouraging native grasses and things like that, because that will help in the long run prevent erosion more than any riprap or anything that you can put on there. So, any questions on what we're doing?
Anybody? No?
Okay.
Well, thank you,
Excellent.
Sherry.
Well, thank
Thanks
you.
for the update.
I'm enjoying it. So 6 months in, so I look forward to seeing what the next 2.5 years bring.
Well, thanks for the update. I appreciate it.
It's Hankins night.
Thank you for all your presentations. We appreciate all the information. And thanks for joining us this evening. Next up on our city business is the Teichschmidt's Park Field Rental Agreement for the Matamidi Soccer Association. We had talked a bit about this last month in our last meeting. The resolution, I believe there's a resolution for this? No, just a contract. Was there a resolution as well that we approved this?
It was listed in the packet somewhere here.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to find the page, I'm scrolling.
Well, we can do that when we get to the consent agenda, but basically, the contract is the same as what we looked over last month, but we did put in just the amount of $2,000 for the rental fee.
Were we able to determine what the price was for mowing? No.
And would this 2,000 apply then if there's a fall season? So does the 2,000 apply to all the seasons, or is it another 2,000 if they play in the fall?
I believe they're just asking for, was it May through July on this? Yes.
Right, but it says fall season dates TBD.
Oh,
So I was just wondering, then is this the same contract for the fall season, if there is a fall season?
I mean, I guess we could negotiate it then. I mean, right now, I'm thinking if we're charging them for mowing, it's really just 2.5 months,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And so if they were to play in the fall again, that would be what, another 2.5 months? You know, the rest
Yeah.
of July, then August, September. Do you know, Ryan, do you have any information about their seasons in the fall, or how long that goes? Their season
So I want
in
to
the
be clear,
fall.
I'm commenting here just as a resident
Yeah,
and abstaining.
information, right.
But I don't.
Okay,
Well, I just wanna, I don't know.
Okay.
Apparently this one.
Yeah, she might know, so this Hankins might do better.
So yeah, so the summer session goes from May until like the middle of June. So I think that's what that first one is. And then they start up again the middle of August and play through like the beginning of October.
okay,
So you're looking at like, what, the 2.5 month for each chunk of time.
okay. Thank you.
I don't believe our parks projects will affect the actual playing field at all.
Right.
So that shouldn't be an issue as far as access to that. I don't think we're going around the parking side either. I think we're going around the back side when we're doing any of the construction there. So we should be clear of the playing surface unless we are fixing that pipe that is broken underneath.
Right.
So I love the idea of all of this, that's great. I'm just trying to get clear on, because I don't remember we talked about fall.
We didn't.
We
yeah.
did not.
Okay, so maybe we just strike the fall, and then if there's more information that they come forward with, or if they want us for the fall, then we have a new conversation?
That's a great idea.
Okay, then that's
That
great.
seems fair.
Okay. So can I get a motion to approve this contract?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second Kathy.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Oh, sorry about that. Motion carries. Great. I'm very happy to get that done for them.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. Yes, yep. So now, Ryan, keep me on track here.
Sherry, do you
So-
want to let them know, the soccer people? Okay.
We can let them know. The city can send out an email. Yes.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we can send that out. So we're on to the consent agenda. As I mentioned before, I would like to pull out M and N.
Mary and Nancy, is that?
Mary and Nancy, yes. Anybody else?
I think I wanted to talk about L and Larry.
L, okay. Anything else? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda excluding M, N, and L?
So moved.
Ryan
Hankins.
Hankins, second Bridget. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, since Marcus is here, can we do L first? And then we can let Marcus go. Would you like that, Marcus? Okay, I'll move down to that. Kathy, did you have questions for Marcus?
I did. So I believe this is the one that starts on page 55 in your packet, if you're looking for
Okay,
it.
thank you.
So it looks like this is related to the lift station specifically, right?
Yep.
And then, so we have a construction inspection portion, and then also construction administration and construction staking.
Yep.
So we should be adding all of those, or is the 30?
Adding all of them total. Yep. I just wanted to break it down so you can kind of see where the money is going. So go ahead, Ryan.
No, please finish.
Oh, so the construction inspection, that's going to be majority of our time, as far as just making sure someone's on site, make sure the contractor's doing what is on the plans, what we plan for. Any issues come up, we're there already. The construction administration, that's pretty much making sure you guys are hitting all the grant items.
EPA contact and all?
Yep. Making sure, because most of that time is going to be in the closeout. It seems like those things drag on forever. So of just making sure they have everything, all I's are dot, T's are crossed. They don't have any issues. And then staking is the smallest budget, but we stake the structures, parts of the road, that kind of stuff.
Is there additional funding that would be needed to close out the EPA grant?
As in, like, can you get additional funding?
Well, do we need to pay you, Bolton, and make more money to have you complete the grant application, or is that included?
This includes everything,
It
so.
includes the grant application. And
Yep.
so we basically farm this out to you guys.
Correct.
The EPA pays us back. Everybody is happy, and basically, other than just generally dealing with Bolton and Make, no internal city resources are needed beyond this.
Other than anything that we can't sign for you guys, I guess, or questions that,
Fair enough.
yeah.
fair
But
enough.
generally,
Like,
generally this is
high-level
us taking the
management.
project, we'll
Okay.
finish it out for you guys, and
is there anything here that we're not doing that you would recommend we do in terms of managing this project?
no, there's stuff that I would have done different, so things we can learn in the future, I guess, but
That you
as
would
far
do
as this
previously?
project goes, yeah, this is covering everything, I guess.
Okay, so your engineering opinion is that this is everything that's needed and nothing that's not to finish the project, and your engineering opinion
Correct.
is that
Yep.
this is the full, the same way you would do it at your house.
Correct, yep. So if we do like a street reconstruct, I would recommend having more hours just of someone just being there, but with this, it's such a short project. Most of our time is the coordination, looking over everything they're submitting. And the time the hole's open, it's very minimal compared to everything leading up to it.
And so you said there we need to probably look at the street reconstruction as well, and that's obviously an option. But is that something that you would recommend that we do or don't do? I think you had scheduled that for next year in concert with the lift station.
Yep, that will come at a later time, I guess, those costs. Those will be, I guess, depending on what the final result is, significantly smaller than this. I mainly, the things that I recommend that we observe the most is anything where the ground's open, because you only can see it one time, document it once. once it's in the ground and it's covered.
So,
The only way to see it's to uncover it, so,
well, I mean, kind of makes sense,
if
right?
that makes
Just like
sense.
brain surgery, I guess. So.
yeah. The stuff at the surface is less crucial, because you can always go back and
Okay,
Should check.
so you are just kind of giving us a little caveat here that we probably need to, over the next couple months, visit the street reconstruction if we're gonna go and do
Correct.
that reconstruction there. Okay, and you will probably revisit that as part of your capital improvement plan?
Yep, actually, it's part of my thought process in the future, so.
Good.
So with this project for the lift station, we had approved last session, as part of the road updates that we were gonna do, there was going to be a crosswalk put in right in that area.
Yep.
Is any portion of that included with that to finish off that area where it will be good, or is that going to have to go with the road?
That was included in the original bid.
Okay,
Yep,
so it should be included with that.
correct, yep,
So we should be all set for what we've already promised.
yep.
That was all I had.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about, the open house, or?
Yeah, I guess, so I didn't prepare anything for this year's road construction yet, because I'd like to get feedback from the public on what we like that's happening in town, what we'd like to see different, suggestions, any feedback before we present a final solution for this year. So I'd like to get some feedback on that, and then maybe get some feedback on if we move forward with the water main research, and then potential projects, what residents would like to see, I guess, out of that. So
Okay.
kind of sum a couple things up, digest it, and then we'll spit out something for the 2025 project.
Perfect. Okay, and I can follow up with you this
Okay.
week in an email about some potential dates for that, okay?
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Any other
Anything-
questions?
Anything else from me?
Marcus? Thank you.
Perfect. I'll get, first thing you guys will see is a pre-con coming up, and I'll schedule probably with you, Jennifer, I think, on that, so, and just start getting some hard dates from the contractor of when to start seeing things moving.
Do city council members get to drive the excavator?
I'll run that by them.
Thank
that
you,
touch a truck
Marcus.
event?
Thanks for your work.
that?
You want the touch a truck event?
Okay. Could I get a motion, please, then, to approve L, which is Resolution 2025-15?
So moved.
Okay, Bridget,
second.
thank you. Thank you, Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, let's move on to M. Their approval to post an opening for our vacancy for city administrator. I had written that resolution, and the more I think about it, I mean, we need to be kind of agile about this so we can get Therese some help as soon as possible. And I want to publicly say she has been fantastic, absolutely fantastic. She's just really stepped in and taken over, and I really appreciate all that support as well as Alan's support. I mean, we have really good staff. But my thought on this posting is that before I can, or the personnel committee can even go ahead and post an opening, we need to know, like, what residents desire. You know, what do they see? Are we providing the best service possible for them? Like, what do they see that we're doing well, and what do they see that we could do better as far as administration? And as a council, what do we see, like, our strengths and weaknesses being in administration? So I'd really like people to put some thought into how they see our city staff working together moving forward, like the division of responsibility, and like especially like we had talked, I think we all ran on communication, right? We want to really make sure there's someone there too that's really passionate about that. So there's those sorts of things. And I was thinking before we even interview anybody, we need to know what we want and what our citizens want. So, that being said, how are we gonna get that information?
Is it possible to get a list from Therese and Marcia of what they personally are covering so we can see where gaps are?
Yes.
And I feel like, because this is an administrator role and is in charge of other staff members, one of the most important portions of ours is going to be helping manage other employees as they are supposed to be running that. So those are the two areas that I think would be the most helpful to try and figure out what we need to fill.
Okay, I've been in, actually, there is a document that lists out responsibilities by month, season, year for each of those positions. And also, I was speaking with Therese today, and she said that her job description, as well as the city administrator job description, is pretty accurate.
Okay.
Margaret put a lot of work into those, I think.
So,
Would it make sense to start with both of them, to ask them where they see the gaps are?
yes, I've asked Therese to do that, and she's been super busy,
Yeah, I'm sure.
obviously.
Right.
So, we've decided, this is like a catch-up week. And so, she and I and whoever, Ryan, we're just trying to get things back to a normal level,
Yeah.
so to speak. So next week, we're really gonna hit that hard. But she's really been working many hours, so. But in the meantime, before we even get with that, get to her, I would like to know from our residents, but I don't know quite how we should be going about that. Like, what do they see? Would they like someone to work in the evenings, or at least till 5 or 5:30? What, because that's part of the hiring process too, right? You need
Sure.
to get someone that is willing to do that.
Yeah.
So perhaps we can do an email blast asking for feedback?
I don't know.
Before we enter in the hiring process, or?
I guess I hadn't thought about that too much for tonight, but I have a couple thoughts. One is it might be worth just doing an open house for that, but I don't know how many people are gonna come in for that. It would surprise me if people would give you really strong opinions on who to hire. And maybe they'll give you some opinions on what they want the city to do. I think that it's gonna be a really hard question to kind of pose in a way that gets you to hiring the right person. So you have to think about that a little bit.
I'm not talking about the actual person, I'm talking about the services that our residents would like. What do they see that we could do better as a city? Like, what services could we provide them at a higher level?
Have we ever done a Survey Monkey for issues?
That's a worthwhile idea. In this case, a survey might not be I agree, I like that idea. So, my other thought is, I don't think we want to spend too long kind of nailing down a decision. I don't know that a lot of work got missed, but I think that Jenna's been in the office an awful lot, and, I just don't want people to get burned out here, so.
I was talking with Therese about that today, and I'm good. I don't want to rush into anything.
Okay, I'll do agendas for a while.
Yes. Basically, I was telling Therese I can do her clerical kind of responsibilities if she does more of the administrative responsibilities. I had spoken a little bit with her about how she saw her future with the city, Therese. And she told me that she likes the flexibility she has right now and would not want more hours, basically. She likes her job, so. Yes.
And how many hours does Therese work typically in a week?
Between 20 and 30.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't want to be rushed into making a decision to hire somebody without really knowing what we're getting into, first of all. And secondly, without having some resident feedback in what they want. And maybe maybe we only get 3 or 4 people saying, hey, I would really like to see our office open a couple more hours a week, or hey, I don't know. I don't know what everybody would like to see from this office. Or if they don't,
I've definitely heard about office hours for
Okay.
a long time, yeah.
because I have an idea about that too. But if we want to kind of shorten down the time a little bit, I like the Survey Monkey idea. I don't know how quickly we can get that out,
Well,
together and out.
I guess if you're not in a hurry, I'm not in a hurry. I mean, I can do agendas, don't take me that long, and I can help out with some other stuff. I just, in the past, hiring takes 2 months, training somebody up takes 2 or 3 months.
Mhm.
Like, you guys all want to do awesome stuff as elected officials,
Right.
and,
I'm
you
not
know,
interested in day-to-day,
yeah.
permanently.
and, like,
I'm just helping Teresa.
and
I
so,
don't want to do
like,
day-to-day.
so just be cognizant that, like, this is probably gonna slow down outside projects until we kinda, probably for several months here, so.
Would it make sense to add in, looking at some other services that can handle some of the things that we have? I know we had talked before about potentially permits, adjusting that process.
And
Yeah.
Bridget and I had met with Bolton and Mink, and we can discuss that some more. I know I had looked at another option. It sounded like the general consensus is probably to kind of move forward with Penn.
Also, well, Therese, I did bring up the permitting process with Therese, and she seemed to think this, whatever you guys put in place, was it last year, the new software?
The software,
Is working very well.
Okay,
So she didn't see that really as an issue.
okay.
So I need to have a more in-depth conversation with her, but I also want feedback from our residents, so. Because I think that now is the time, if we're gonna make a pivot,
Might as well do
this
it
is a
while
good
we're hiring.
time, yes. So that's one of the reasons I don't wanna rush into it. I wanna make sure we're thorough in getting all the information we can from all interested parties, so,
Something we should,
including our current staff.
something we should look at as well. I know we have a budget of some sort that's in our actual budget that we have. We probably should pull that back slightly for a starting wage.
I would
And then
go,
well, we can't adjust up though, so if you determine that it's easier to have a 30-day review and then give a bump at that point,
Right.
that might work better than hiring at a higher level that we haven't budgeted for.
I'm kind of not at that point. I just, with this resolution, I wanted approval from council for the personnel committee to post for a job opening once we nail down all these other variables. But I guess I just wanted to have the discussion with all of you about the variables and about getting feedback from our residents. And that wasn't included in there, so I wanted to do that
Yeah, I
first.
think that's a really good idea. So it's almost like we have to do maybe 4 things. One is to get the staff's input.
Yep.
2, find a way to get residents' input. 3, figure out if there are other things that we want to take off the staff because then the job changes. And I had a 4th one, but I forgot it.
Yeah.
So,
I
Yes,
think,
it's not that, yeah.
Actually hiring.
yeah, that's it.
I think we need to characterize some qualifications too. And, I don't want to go through them all, but one of the things is we've long had a real deficit in technology skills in the city. To where,
That was my 4th one, which is,
yeah,
what are our observations as a council in terms of what we think
Yes,
is needed?
okay. So
Thank you, Ryan.
can I suggest that I really can't move forward with discussions with Therese till next week.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you give me next week to kind of meet with her and do some discussions, in the meantime, I can contact our current staff and see what input they have. And if you guys want to come up with some observations, maybe send them all to Therese, because we don't want to break the open meeting laws. So send all your suggestions to Therese. And then if we can figure out a way, maybe through email, or I don't know how to do Survey Monkeys.
I don't either, but I figure we can figure it
Okay.
out. I'd be happy to look into it and
Okay.
do a rough draft of what a survey could look
Perfect.
like, and then people can
Perfect.
edit away.
If we can do that in the next 2 weeks and get some responses back in, then I can see us proceeding to post a job opening and hiring. But I can't see anything happening sooner than 3 or 4 weeks, honestly.
Can you send us the current job listings for Teresa's position as well as the city
Oh,
administrator?
that's a
Just
good
so we
idea.
know what
Sure.
they should be doing?
Their job descriptions, you want?
The job
Job
description.
descriptions, okay.
I'm sure they're doing a lot more than I actually know about, so.
I have some general concerns that, if we're leaning toward moving to a part-time city administrator, that has not typically worked well in the city. I also have some concerns that it may be hard to hire qualified staff who can run the city at the rate we've been paying. So I think those are things we need to think about a little bit here too.
Yeah,
So
I'm thinking that's kind of like step 2, once we get all the requirements that we.
I just
you know what
wanna, I
mean?
don't know quite how we're proceeding to posting something, and I just wanna kind of throw in those are things I think that are really critical to think about here. So,
I know, Ryan and I are on the personnel committee, and I really don't want to post anything without full council approval.
I don't-
So
I
let's
think
go
it
through.
would be nice, and I
Yes.
think if you're willing to do the day-to-day on a temporary
Yeah.
basis and get us by, that's fine, but
Yeah,
like, let's just make sure we're kind of appreciative of you and respectful of you, and if like, so.
But if you
I'll
just
let
tell
you
us
know.
how much we pay
Okay.
paying you something.
I don't have a problem making
Yeah.
my voice heard. Okay, as long as you understand, I'd like this passed just so it's done, it's a done deal, we can move forward, but I don't see the personnel committee doing anything without full council approval.
I
Okay,
move to pass resolution 2025-16.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second, Kathy.
Kathy, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Marcus.
Seeing none, motion passes. Thank you, Marcus. Okay, on to resolution 2025-17. Okay. So, just a general summary of what's been going on. So our city administrator, Rebecca Kellen, has resigned. She put it in writing, correct me if I'm wrong with my dates, okay? January 28th. When she put it in writing, she said she was invoking her 60-day notice, and which we thought she intended to work through those 60 days. However, we weren't sure that was actually going to happen after the first week of that, so we had a letter drafted and sent to her saying we will honor the 60-day notice, but she need not come into work any longer. Is that correct? Is that a summary, or is that?
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, some of that was based on the information from our techie dudes who thought there might be some security problems there if there was continued access to all our city records, all our city information. So that was one of the driving points to send that letter out. So the resolution we have on the table is to pay Rebecca out her 60 days that we initially told her we would do. Is that about right, Alan? Is there anything you want to add to that? Because I feel like I just stumbled through that whole thing.
You did fine stumbling along. That's what we do in life. Yeah, I would say that the summary would be that she gave her 60 days notice, and for those of you who haven't seen her contract, that was what the city asked of her when she wanted to go, so that's what she invoked. And the decision was made to, and this is pretty common in executive situations, to say, you know what, we respect the 60 days notice, we're good, we'll take care of things and move on and honor the 60 days. And so the letter basically said, you will no longer have any duties to the city, and we'll compensate you for that notice period. Plus, of course, accumulated vacation and sick time. So like I said, not an uncommon situation for an executive to just be told, we'll go it alone. And so the only thing that complicates this, of course, is what you all received last week, a week after the letter went out from the city saying, we hear you, you'll get a check, was her essentially saying, no, I'm gonna resign immediately. And so that's a little bit of an unusual circumstance, because most people, when they know that they're gonna get paid for 60 more days and they can stay home, don't usually say, no, I want out and I want out now. And so that's essentially, you all read the letter, so that's essentially what it said, is pay me through last week and my vacation and sick time, and we're done. So I think that's where you're at. I didn't get the luxury, I guess, of seeing the resolution, so I have no idea what it says.
I can read it to you.
Well, that's all right. I don't know what.
It's short.
Don't know what you're resolving to do, but
Oh,
I know
right.
that that's kind of the conundrum is, you know, whether the city moves forward with what the city said we're doing, or now with this latest wrinkle, so.
I guess, may I?
And just one second.
Okay.
The only, the resolution just says that we're asking council to approve the former city administrator's final paycheck.
Fair enough.
That's it. So then the discussion's open. What is that paycheck gonna look like?
I have some pretty significant concerns I want to state about paying Becky out beyond her termination date. First of all, I'm not sure I understand. It seems like it probably should have been a council action to have, provided to have relieved the city administrator of her duties. So I'm concerned that that letter is not really binding on Becky. One of the things I want to raise here is, you guys probably learned in your League of Minnesota Cities class that there's something that applies to cities called, the public purpose doctrine. And that means that any expenditures we make have to serve a public purpose. And it seems to me like there's a concern here when we have a city administrator that tendered an immediate resignation on Friday, that paying her out for almost 2 months beyond that falls outside of that public purpose doctrine, and that is in fact in furtherance of a private purpose there. I think there's also a number of other things here that are, relevant. One of the things is there's 2 attorney general's opinion from the League of Minnesota Cities that it states here that cites a 77 and a 1980 opinion that a bonus for past services is considered a gratuity and is not valid unless there's some agreement or other understanding. It seems like what's being paid to Becky here is effectively a bonus, particularly because there's no consideration provided by Becky for the bonus. I think the other thing we need to keep in mind here is that Becky breached the contract with the city. Becky was required to provide the city 60 days notice. And indeed, on Friday, she left immediately. So Becky appears to be in breach of the contract with the city. There is no, so the next thing here is, we had a city administrator, I think there was some discussion of this, but Becky was approaching a for-cause termination, and that would have been an immediate dismissal from the city. I don't know why we would pay her additional money beyond this, particularly, and let me be clear, I don't think there's any liability to Becky from the city, but I don't know why we would pay her any money beyond her resignation date here. So the contract, Becky's contract clearly states that her employment was at will, and it could be terminated at any time by the city. So there doesn't seem like there's any reason to do that here. There's one of the issues here, I think, is it's not clear to me why we're not just treating Becky like a normal employee who quits, paying her through her last date of service, which was last Friday. She quit, she left an at-will job, that's her prerogative. And to pay her beyond that, I think, is outside of the, public purpose doctrine, and there was no consideration from Becky to receive an additional approximately 2 months of pay, and this is totally outside of standard practice for a resignation. And anywhere I've been is that you basically get paid through your last day here. So I don't think there's any reliability, any reason to believe that any liability to Becky exists, but the city is insured for that purpose. And insurance is what we should be using here, not extra contractual payouts. And finally, I think there's kind of an important couple of statutes here that we should be looking at here. 465 Minnesota statute 465.721, no city, township, or other government shall implement a plan for payment severance pay pursuant to section 465.72 until a plan provided for full funding has been developed by the governing body. And since this appears to be a severance payment, I don't think that this can be made without, that such a payment or such an approval can be made without the council. Moreover, 465.72 says severance pay must be paid in a manner mutually agreeable to the employee and the employer. So it appears that any additional payment to Becky would have to be made both with the council and with Becky's approval, and this was done with the approval of neither. So with that, I would suggest that we move forward with a payment through February 7th, 2025, and not extend any sort of payment through March 28th.
Isn't that what you said, Alan? Because she sent that letter saying I wanted to resign immediately?
Yeah, what I said was that's your choice. This is the other one. So
Oh,
the
okay.
city has gone out and said what it said, and I think Ryan's pointing out the fact that since she is now officially resigned, right? And
Yep.
in a way sort of advanced or accelerated her 60 days to say, no, just pay me through Friday and the other goodies, and that's it. So, I appreciate everything Ryan's saying, and it doesn't matter if I agree with it. Your choice is to keep moving forward with what you've told her you're going to do, or honoring what she asked for, which was, no, I'm just done. Like I said, it's an unusual circumstance, and so that's the choice that's before you. You need to take a vote, so are you making a motion, Ryan?
I will move to pay Becky through February 7th, 2025.
Including the payout of benefits.
Including the vacation payout, but excluding ESST. And I want to discuss why that's excluded. Including vacation and sick time, but excluding ESST. I want to discuss why that's
That's your motion.
good.
Well, we need a second.
I'm sorry, what's EEST?
That's a new state law that took
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
place,
Thank
basically
you.
saying that,
Thank you.
if someone has, yeah, anyway.
Do you all have this document in front of you?
We were sharing.
So basically, and I wonder if Chris, do you want to put this up so if anybody's watching? Thanks, Alan. They can follow along.
So is the, so it looks like you earned that ESST, is that based on your anniversary dates?
I guess I
Or is
think,
it annually, based on?
so I can discuss why ESST doesn't apply here if we want.
Well, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking
Okay.
how you, like, how that time frame is based. Is it calendar year, or is it based on your anniversary date, which I believe hers is in June?
ESST,
It's based on
It's
calendar
calendar
year.
year.
calendar plus it's accruing during the time.
Okay.
We didn't get a second yet.
So it sounds like motion dies for lack of a second.
Okay, then let's continue discussing it. So basically, on this paper that you guys have, there's two scenarios, right? The first one is Ryan's plan minus the ESST. Not Ryan, I shouldn't say
Well, listen, I think,
sorry, Ryan, but,
you know,
and the second one is the one that went out in the letter that Becky received after the first resignation. So those are our choices. It's an unusual circumstance, yes, because we're dealing with two different resignation dates. And I guess that's part of it too, like which one are we honoring?
So I guess I do have a question on the 60-day requirement that we have in her contract. That was based on her working up through those timeframe and actually doing the job during that 60 days, correct?
Well, it's just, that's the term of proper resignation, is to give 2 months' notice.
Yes, but as far as like, she would, it's not a, I'm giving 60 days, but I'm not actually going to do the job during that time frame. It's normally a, I'm transitioning someone else to take it, right?
Correct.
So I do agree with Ryan that she has resigned and therefore has canceled as of the 7th. So I agree with you on that. I'm curious on the ESST as to why you wouldn't want to pay that portion. It's minimal comparatively.
I guess the reason I wouldn't, I mean, if, I'm not gonna bicker about it too much, but we had a meeting in December of 2023, and we decided that, so ESST is something that you can provide. It's basically a minimum amount of vacation and sick time you provide to an employee. And in the December of, and so this, because Becky's contract preceded the state law that required ESST, her contract doesn't say anything about it. In the December of 2023 meeting, Becky's contract, we basically visited ESST, and the council said, we're not going to pay any additional ESST, and Becky's pay will not be affected by that. So I would suggest the ESST, if we want to do everything by the book here, be removed. I don't know about sick time, that seems a little weird, but I'm already being pickier than I should, so.
This is really out of my wheelhouse. However, I did call the League of Minnesota Cities to talk to somebody about the situation, and the only thing the person that I had spoken to was really adamant about is making sure you get the ESST.
Well,
Perfect.
if
So
ESST is something we're worried about, that's not my hill to die on, so.
I don't know enough about it to put anything
Would you,
very intelligent together, but I can revisit that. I have notes on it.
would somebody then make a motion to pay the 10/4/15/56?
I'll make a motion to pay the 10/4/15/56, which would give her pay through the date that she, did she just text all of us? She emailed it too, right?
She said she did.
I think it was received in the mail.
We
today,
received
You
it.
received it, you have the print, okay.
What
It
we received via
it on the
text.
7th, which is, I believe the date it is dated.
This is dated the 7th, yes.
Okay,
You're
so-
right, thanks.
I will make a motion that we pay her through the date of her official resignation and terminating her activity within the city, which would be February 7th, 2025, in the amount of $10,415.56, which would include vacation sick time and ESST payments.
Can I
I'll-
ask a couple of questions?
I'll second.
Um,
Go ahead.
So, just so that I understand the timeline, and I know these things are always really complicated and hard. So, did we send her in writing the fact that she would be paid through 3/28?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's in that
And-
letter that she copied us.
And did she receive it when she got back to us with her note?
Yeah, she copied it in the text that I
Oh, she
received.
did?
So she had sent both, because she had the letter that she sent us.
Oh,
that
okay.
one. And then below, she has, here's the letter I received from Alan that states.
Okay,
If it
So-
helps, Bridget, we actually sent that out overnight. So it
okay,
was
so
hand-delivered.
she had it in hand before
week
she wrote
before.
that note
Right.
to
Yes.
us.
It looks
Okay.
like
This is
this
different
re-
because
Yeah,
a
got
week
it.
later, you
Yep.
get this latest one.
Right,
So it looks like she actually responded to that with that
With this.
handwritten.
Correct.
right.
And that's the sequencing too.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that seems pretty clear then.
Yeah.
Right, okay, thank you. That was my question.
I seconded,
Okay.
Kathy
Seconded.
firsted.
Any other discussion?
Thank you guys on the Personnel Committee. I don't know, I haven't been involved with your discussions, but my guess is you guys spent a lot of time on this.
Yeah.
So just a thank you to you guys. So,
Yeah, it definitely wasn't
Thank
streamlined.
you, Alan,
Thank
too.
you, Alan. All right, let's take a
Therese.
vote.
Take a vote real quick,
Yes.
but-
Well, I just want to ask Alan quick, like, what's your legal opinion about all this?
I think whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. I know that's.
Is that a legal opinion?
chaos, but we're responding to someone who has responded to us. So that's the way I look at this, and so my question was gonna be after the vote. I think it would be wise to put a cover letter, sort of laying this thing out, and why we did what we did and what those numbers are, instead of just lick a stamp and send a check. So much
She
like the letter I
requested
sent on the
that.
28th, but
Yeah.
something that's laying out, here's what you're getting,
Agreed.
here's what it represents and
Agreed.
why,
Sure.
right? And
Yeah.
that's about the best we can do, is just paper the current events and just hope for the best. So, and obviously, we all hope the best for Becky. So it's
Absolutely.
a little weird not having my sidekick here. So, yeah. But anyway, you're on for a vote here.
Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Can I just follow up on what you said a little bit there, Alan? Can we stay on this for a minute?
Sure.
Becky did make a number of requests in her text message, and one was her son's gaming mouse. I asked Therese about that. I'd like to get any personal property back to her. She asked for some documents from Techie Dudes. She requested, basically, it looks to me like this accounting right here that we should send to her, and I think was that everything she requested in there? It seemed like most of the things in there were pretty reasonable.
Yeah, when I
So-
reviewed this, what I suggested is that if she can actually make those specific requests of what's kind of locked up behind the technology barrier, Techie Dudes can surgically go in
If-
and get
if-
folders, get files,
Yep,
get whatever
yep.
she needs. I don't know anything about a gaming mouse, but I think that's a mouse that plays games. And maybe there's one downstairs.
It's just one that
but
has an extra.
if there's one there, we should get it to her. We're gonna have to make arrangements to get the laptop back, because that's actually with her physically.
It looked like she was
She's planning on.
planning to return the laptop, and I assume we would,
Swap or whatever.
yeah, I mean, I
We'll
don't
have to get
necessarily
the
want to
mouse.
play games with pay with the laptop, but
that?
I don't want to pay games with withholding pay for the
We
laptop
can't.
necessarily, but,
And that's illegal.
Would
yeah.
it be possible to
then-
ask her to come and pick up her check and drop off? Or
Yeah,
is-
certainly. I mean, if she's got to get her mouse, I mean, there's a reason that she would have to come here physically.
I would anticipate she might have some other stuff as well
Yeah,
that,
it's-
I mean, like.
It's all
pictures on
boxed
the
up.
desk, et cetera.
It's all
Yeah.
boxed up.
It's all set.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about that. And like I said, if Techie Dudes if she's got specific requests, they should be able to shunt those into some other space and/or just email them to her, so.
Yeah, okay.
And I assume her access is turned off, and there must be some kind of message if somebody from the city tries to get in touch with her.
I think
Bounces back.
we have her email going to Therese, basically.
Okay,
Do we have it forwarded to the Teresa's, or do we have it to the city at
I
Birchwood?
think it's a shared mailbox that Therese has access to, is there?
Didn't she have a Teams phone number set up? So where's that Teams phone number going?
Oh, that's an interesting point.
Yeah.
that's one thing we might want to check, is where her phone number is going. If she doesn't, I thought it was just all went through the village phone number, but it's worth asking.
They would have extensions, so there would be an extension number.
It's probably a question for techie dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should look at all of the places that she might be contacted and make sure that it's messaged that she's no
Update,
longer
update.
here.
Update to pull into the city, basically.
Yeah, we did pull the email just so that Therese could get access, and that's what it said in the letter of the 28th. Basically, you know, hey, someone else will be monitoring this, like you heard Stan tonight in his slide deck.
Yeah,
You know, I wondered, because he said, well, I sent it to your city administrator, so she should have it. So I'm like,
yeah,
well, Therese got it. Obviously, you wouldn't have gotten it
Right.
if that hadn't been monitored, so.
yeah, okay.
We did have, Gail had sent one as well that did not make it to us, so I don't know which one she sent that to, but
He's probably
it
right.
might
Mike-
have been from today as well, I don't know.
My guess is the city and even Therese is probably just kind of barely keeping the lights
Yeah, I
on
would
here,
imagine.
so.
And I think it's my understanding those emails have not been opened yet because
There's a lot going on.
well, no, we want it to settle, you know,
Yeah.
step by step, do things
Oh, sure.
properly, so.
Okay.
That's it. Okay, if there's no other business, any other business?
I did want to mention that we have a city newsletter coming up. If you have anything specifically you would like added to that, please email it to me. I will be assembling that. Hold on. Look at my calendar. I believe I have to have it done by the 20th, so if you could possibly have everything to me by the 19th,
Okay.
that would be wonderful.
And then when does it go out?
The 25th is when they actually are supposed to be sending that out, based on what Therese had sent me as far as the schedule for when the bills should hit the post office. I believe we bring the bill and the envelopes to a company that stuffs them. So I think the 25th is when they leave here, but I'll confirm with her just to make sure.
An envelope stuffing company.
Mm-hmm.
And just, would we want to do a survey in that?
Oh, that's a good
Well,
idea.
so it doesn't come out until mid-March, so it depends
Oh,
on
that's
timing as far as
Yeah.
when we want to do that. But I think our email system would probably be faster, and
Right.
unfortunately, we'll have more people reading it, because despite our having a lovely newsletter in our utility bills, not everyone is opening those. We're always surprised at how many people don't know what's going on, so.
I would like to send an email out.
Yeah.
Therese won't be in the office tomorrow, but Thursday, maybe she and I can put something together to send it out to all residents, asking for feedback as well.
Mhm.
Just telling them, you know,
You want to do the link to the Survey Monkey in there?
if we
You
can.
I would, if you can, because it'd be nice for them to be able to click on
Correct.
said thing and give feedback immediately that way.
That's 2 days, so I can't take that on. If somebody else
I believe
wants to
you
do
were-
that,
No, I'll
that'd be
take a
great.
look
You're
at it,
looking
I'll
at the
see what I
survey.
can find out, let you know.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay, then, meeting adjourned.
You want a motion to adjourn? Mayor?
Oh, yeah, can I get a motion to
I'll
adjourn
move
the
to
meeting?
Adjourn the meeting.
I moved to
On
stay
different-
here.
Okay,
I brought my
Kathy,
sleeping bag.
Kathy makes the motion. Can I get a second to adjourn?
Second.
Oh, we have a tie. Let's do, Mr. Isley here. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, meeting adjourned.
Now you're-
Thank you, everyone.